Morning, I'm Jonathan Whitcomb. This is August 8th, 2021. A short live stream that's not been announced previously on the spur of the moment. Delighted you're here, and we'll talk a little bit about this subject because it's kind of a deep subject, so we'll get into it a little bit. The Bible, religion and modern pterosaurs. And again, this relates to pterodactyl sightings, which is what this channel basically is mostly all about. Protect Animal Life channel on YouTube. So let's get right into it. The fiery flying serpent we've discussed before. We won't go into too much detail. It's on another live stream you can get on this channel. The fiery flying serpent from the Old Testament. What does that mean? Well, my associates and I believe that scripture in the Bible refers to a rhamphorhynchoid pterosaur that was living at the time of the Israelites and Moses, and children of Israel encountered this when they went out and left Egypt, and they invented names which basically in modern English translation, at least in the King James version of the Bible, it's listed as something like a flying serpent or a fiery flying serpent and so on. But this phrase generally is correct and incorrect, and technically in the details. Fiery, it's not exactly fiery. I believe it has bioluminescence. It glows at night, and that's why they called it fiery. Flying, because it literally flies with wings. And serpent, no, it's not to be taken literally. It's just it has a reptilian tail. When it's not flying and just sitting somewhere, it would be seen, the wings would be not so visible, and you could see the long tail, and it could look like a serpent. That's what we believe. You can believe what you will. We're also, I want to, and some of my associates want to bring up the fact that Animal Discovery is now an official nonprofit organization, and the main specialty of this is in revealing to the world the truth about modern pterosaurs, particularly the Ropen. Contact me here at this location URL. And these are sketches of the Ropen. Both of the sightings were in Cuba in the middle of the 20th century. One by Patty Carson, which is the larger sketch you see here, and only the head and the top of the body. And then the two pterodactyls, as Eskin Kun called them, that this U.S. Marine saw in 1971. And both of these eyewitnesses, Patty Carson and Eskin Kun, sketched their what they had seen. So let's get back to this. Hopefully people will be coming on, but this is not a long live stream chat. I'm not going to be here a long time. I have to get to church. I play the organ. My church in Murray, Utah, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and I want to be not late for that. So I can't spend a lot of time here. But pterodactyl sightings, we need to understand that, well, first of all, over the past 18 years, I've interviewed or received reports, at least, from hundreds of eyewitnesses around the world, hundreds, in fact, just from the United States, and not just various parts of North America, Canada, and Cuba, Caribbean, and Central America, and so on, but actually in the United States. And these hundreds of reports worldwide, though, come from people apparently from various religious beliefs. They're not necessarily predominantly Christian or believing in the Bible, but they do have a great interest in knowing what they saw or reporting to me what they believe they saw. And I'll look, as an aside, let me mention this. Typically, when an eyewitness reports their sighting to me, there's no indication in anything that they communicate with me that indicates any particular religious belief or lack of religious beliefs. They're mainly talking about the animal that they saw, this flying, strange bird with no feathers, whatever they call it. Pterodactyl is commonly used. But basically, it often comes out, and I don't have an exact percentage in front of me to tell you this, but it's very common, I know, that the person is not expecting it. This is like a vast majority that doesn't expect it. But here's something that also dominates, not quite as much, is that they're trying to figure out what kind of bird it is, because they're not really wanting to deal with this, what it seems to be through their eyes. It looks like a pterodactyl, and they're trying to think, oh, what is this? Because, Western people, which is the vast majority of people who contact me, Western people, like Americans, for example, Australians, Canadians, people of Western Europe, and so on, they just take it for granted. Well, pterodactyls became extinct millions of years ago. They're like flying dinosaurs, or they're long extinct. What is it going on? And what am I seeing here? What is that? And so they try to make it up. Maybe it's a bird. And the ones that contact me generally are either think that it probably was a pterodactyl and they're trying to get my opinion, or they're just telling me for sure I saw one too, and I've looked it up and I see that other people have seen it, and they're letting me know they've seen one too. I'm delighted with any kind of report, regardless of which classifications you would call it, either kind. If they're asking me or telling me, I'm just delighted to hear whatever they saw or seem to have seen. And we do have some people coming on now. He says, Anand, thank you so much from Texas, right? And I'm delighted you're here. This is Pterodactyl Sightings. How does it relate to the Bible? Well, it's we know that there is one interpretation that we have that is not common, but we believe that the fiery flying serpent was actually a type of Ropen, a type of modern pterosaur, at least related to the rhamphorhynchoids known from fossils, but not exactly the same necessarily. And here we need to talk a little bit about hypercritics. Generally, they present a straw man argument, imagining when they're criticizing me, which is very common, including on YouTube, some very critical remarks. The person or persons will just assume that the rumor that they've heard is correct about me. I'm a creationist. I believe in creationism, biblical creation. And so they just assume certain things, and they'll say all these things about what I believe without ever asking me, generally. That's one exception I know years ago, but generally they don't ask me what I believe. They just assume anything that could make me look negative must be true, so they just report that as if it's true. And generally it's not completely true, some truth and some error. So what they do is they set up a straw man argument, say, oh, this is what Whitcomb believes, and so that's silly, we know it's unscientific, so they knock it down as if that is really my belief. Straw man arguments. Anyway, the principal investigators have been mostly Christian. I'll give you a few examples, but it's certainly not complete. David Wetzel, Garth Gessman, definitely Peter Beach, and Milton Marcy. It's myself. I'm not offended because it's called a Christian creationist, because definitely I'm Christian and my associates are Christian. Not all of our beliefs are universally identical. For particular, my own beliefs about the origin of the age of the universe, the origin of the universe, it's the same. Give God credit. But the age, I just don't present the common beliefs that people will present when they talking about their biblical creation beliefs. There's some differences, but one thing, we are Christians, believe that Jesus Christ is the center of our lives. I know the importance of our eternal destiny is in Jesus Christ alone. We respect others, and in fact, part of the foundation of animal discovery is to make it possible for people of all different faiths and beliefs and philosophies to come together to discuss what this animal is, the Ropen or similar animals that might not be exactly a Ropen, but still maybe modern pterosaurs. What are these things? And if people can present their own religious ideas if they like. We're certainly welcome to that. And we don't mind that. We do feel that the biblical creation has not been given proper attention in the general public. It's been criticized and just dismissed so often. But we need to, I believe, communicate openly with people of different beliefs Let's see, we have here, chat, not yet. I think we need to believe, we need to think openly. For example, there's one thing that is common with the hypercritics that are trying to dismiss my investigation or to try to convince people I'm not a scientist and I can't be right and I'm biased, I'm biased in favor of modern pterosaurs. I'm not paying attention to the pertinent details, which I'm not. I'm quite open to the possibility that many people that think they saw a pterodactyl did not. I'm open to that, but I know for sure, and I'm giving my opinion, but it's not all of these reports can be from non-pterosaurs. It's just practically impossible. There's too many hundreds of them coming from different people, different cultures, different religious beliefs, coming from different nationalities, languages, educational backgrounds, and that they report similar things which are nothing remotely like any kind of bird known to science or any bat known to science. Not like bats in general, not like birds in general. They're just pterodactyls, to use the vernacular. That's the way it is. There's hundreds of sighting reports all over the world. The point is we need to be open-minded, allow people to discuss these things without dismissing somebody else's ideas because, that person is religious bias, And generally that happens when a hypercritic or a critic in general, if you want to call them just critics, do not really examine the religious beliefs of the person who supports the idea of modern pterosaurs, but just dismisses anything that person says because of the assumed religious beliefs. Some of them are correct, some of them are not correct. Anyway, the main point is that many eyewitnesses have reported these flying creatures, and these eyewitnesses come from different cultures, different religious backgrounds. Not all of them are Christian by any means. There is one thing I should point out now, since we're talking now this Sunday morning about religion in the Bible and pterodactyl sightings, modern pterosaurs, is that sometimes it's not like common with these hundreds of reports, but sometimes an eyewitness will tell me certain things about how they react or how they look upon the experience. And what they reveal occasionally, not commonly, but once in a while, an eyewitness will reveal to me that they had believed in the Darwinian type of evolution as an origin explanation where life came from. But now that they've had this sighting, they start to doubt that, and they're starting to look into another possibility. Of course, belief in God, my associates and I know that is a possibility. So it does happen that sometimes it will happen that a encounter with a modern pterosaur will affect a person in that way. And not always, and I certainly don't have an indication that always happens. And this is one thing we need to be sure everybody understands as much as possible. If you have any interest in these investigations, understand this. I can't speak for all my associates who are Christians and believe in Jesus Christ as I do, but we have individual variations and details of what we believe. I do not expect just the official discovery of modern pterosaurs that not all dinosaurs or flying dinosaurs, or in other words, pterodactyls, are extinct. I don't expect that to convert many people, to force them to be religious when they don't want to be. And not at all. That's not my purpose, is to force people into particular religious belief. I can present my own feelings and my own convictions, my own experience with the way that God has dealt with me and communicated with me over a period of decades in my life. I can communicate my own conviction of the truthfulness that our Heavenly Father lives, God the Father and Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit are real. That's no doubt about it. Absolutely. I can bear testimony of that. It's true. God lives. It's just true. However, I understand that different people with different backgrounds, different experiences, different points in their life will react however they choose to. They make the choice, the decision, how they allow this official discovery, which is coming. this official discovery of modern pterosaurs is coming in the future. People will have to deal with it. They can't just dismiss it and then never have to deal with it in the future, because the official discovery will come. It is coming. And whether the first discovery is a Ropen, or whether it's another type of pterosaur, which we know there is another kind at least, if not more than one other kind. For example, the New Britain creature in Papua New Guinea, deep in the interior of New Britain Island, in that southwest Pacific environment. They are real, but they are not. The New Britain creature is not a Ropen. It doesn't have the long tail. So grateful that you've joined us here. We have Jessica Losser from, I believe it's Jessica. Jessica, you're from the UK, right? I'm doing great today. How are you doing, Jessica? Yeah, this is worth, yeah, God is love, true. This is worthy of our attention. I need to point this out too. be frank. This is the religious aspect of this is very important to me. Belief in God, the Bible, the other scriptures I have in my belief, but belief in God is extremely important in my life. It's practically everything. But yet, for the past 18 years, I've mainly concentrated just simply on the technical aspects of pterosaur sightings. I felt that was my calling, or my purpose, and mainly was to present these facts about eyewitness sighting reports to the world, let them know. And naturally, people can choose to be turn their lives more to God or not, but I believe some people will. However, I hardly ever talk about it. My critics, assume, especially hypercritics, they assume that this is basically what I'm about, just religion, Bible, or so on. But it's just, in general, rarely do I talk about it. For example, in my book, Searching for Opens and Finding God, it's now in the 4th edition, if I'm not badly mistaken. Edition number 4, there's been a while since I looked at it. But in the index, there are a few references to Baptists in the Christian religion, and I think one or two under the topic of Mormons, which that's an old nickname that we have. We don't use it that much anymore because we want to concentrate on the fact that we believe in Jesus Christ and that Jesus Christ is the center of our lives. However, there's more about Baptists than there are about Mormons, from the index. If you look at the index, that's because there have been more people who have the Baptist faith who have been deeply involved. As far as I know, I'm only one in my church who is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the only one who's ever been deeply involved in to the extent of going on expeditions and so on. That kind of involvement, writing books and so on. I'm the only one in my church, but Baptist is different, and they have a lot of support from different people in Papua New Guinea and expeditions and so on. It's more involved. In fact, I videotaped some Baptist church meetings on Umbo Island one Sunday. They wanted it videotaped, so I have that, and that's actually on one of the videos on this channel. In fact, don't remember the title of it, but if you want to look for that Umbo Island. That video is mainly about the people of Umbo Island, and it has some things about their church meetings. You can see a little bit there. Anyway, can't stay long. I have to be ready to go to church because I'm playing the organ in my church here in Murray, Utah, in the Salt Lake Valley. And I need to get ready for that now. It's about 9:45, 9:45 Utah time. This is not a normal thing for me to have in fact, I don't know if I've ever done this, have a Sunday, a live stream chat. This is very unusual. Glad for all of you who are here. Jessica says, yes, sir, in the Bible to do a talk about ancient sea creatures and flying creatures, and also is the bear witness to things that came to pass before. Yeah, there's a lot of things we can learn from the Bible related to the world of nature and animals. There's a lot. It's not just the fiery flying serpent, but respect for life. Remember what the Savior said in at least one of the books of the four Gospels in the New Testament. Is, when he mentioned birds, have their nests, and not one sparrow falls to the ground without the knowledge of our Father in heaven. He's aware of these. And just a few days ago, my wife and a friend discovered a poor little bird. It was a lesser golden finch, and it was in bad condition. Oh, something's very wrong. Not behaving. Assumed it was a baby. It's so small. Finches are tiny. But we noticed, oh, wait, it has full-grown feathers. Maybe it's just recently gotten its full-grown feathers, but no. Another friend of ours took the bird many, many miles away to this center where they take care of wildlife and birds and so on, and they put it right into the intensive care unit, gave it oxygen, said that it had some kind of trauma and had an obstruction inside the beak, unfortunately. I didn't hear anything lately about how it's doing, but it was a full-grown bird. It's not yet got all the color, so maybe a year old, maybe not quite fully mature, but it was full of size. Beautiful, beautiful bird. Oh, we're concerned about it. I tried to take care of it. But accidents happen. This is mortality, not just for humans, but creatures. Things happen, and sometimes birds do fall. They run into a window or get hit, so on. But this Ropen is a real creature, and it will be discovered. The time is coming when it will be officially discovered and acknowledged, at least in one species, and acknowledged as probably they'll be called, remnant prehistoric creature. That's a remnant of the many. Because I will tell you this about my beliefs, that in general, pterosaurs became extinct quite a while ago. I never say millions of years ago. I don't believe that, but it was a long time ago. They became extinct in general, but my associates and I are positive that there are some species, well, at least one species, and I'm absolutely positive quite a number of species of modern pterosaurs that we have in our modern world, our wonderful world of life. So pterodactyl sightings. Now, a lot of people that might come on here will think, oh, what in the world is this about? And Jessica says, so I also believe there was another world which was destroyed. God did just in before what could be. I don't know about that. It's way beyond my knowledge. Yeah. And thank you for coming, old timers. Thank you for joining us, old timer. Delighted you're here. I don't think you've been here before in a live stream, have you? So grateful you're here. Jessica says, yeah, giants were mentioned in Genesis. Yes, people are quite large in old times. That's true. Quite large. I think that was the general case, not just a few giants. But by the time of David in the Old Testament, they were not so common as they were earlier, I believe, in my opinion. Behemoth, yeah, Sauropods, yeah, and George Mueller. Thank you for joining us, George. I wish we could have more time this morning. We'll have other live streams this week, but I just can't spend a lot of time now. I have to go to church, play the organ there. So the scientists will still say, oh, I can't be it. Might be something else and stuff. Yeah. Yeah, it's common for skeptics or critics in general to just say, oh, it has to be something else. Well, here's what happens here. And we can dive into this a little bit here. I think it's worthwhile. Generally, this is a video. How much people love videos. You can see things, people moving, they're expressing their opinions, and it's wonderful. I think video, super. I can express myself and let you know my conviction. These animals are real. But, however, the amount of real raw data information that can be presented effectively on the YouTube video is microscopic almost compared with what you can get in a book or scientific paper or a detailed long blog post, for example. And yet people like video, so I'm making these videos. But I understand that up until now, which is the morning of August 8th, 2021 here in Utah, I don't have anything that can be absolutely really close to positively sure is a good clear photo or a video of a modern pterosaur. We're still looking for that kind of evidence. Now we're just looking for people who are open-minded enough that they will listen to the whole story. But basically what happens is somebody sees something like this, like one video, and they say, oh, that sighting, and then they'll see one sighting and they'll click off, oh, that person misidentified a bird, a cormorant, a great blue heron, perhaps just, some kind of bird. They'll mention, oh, that's it, and then they'll dismiss it, not realizing that there's hundreds of reports from around the world that we've received over the past 2 decades, and the great majority of them, the vast majority of them, really has really evidence in the descriptions that they're not any kind of bird or bat. Something different is going on here. This is different. And very few of the skeptics will dive into it, and delve on, stay with it to get the details on all these sightings and how they relate to each other. It's almost like a person needs to already be a eyewitness, or be a close friend or relative, an eyewitness, or just have such an open mind that they'll just happen to come upon a blog post or a video like this, and then they'll be so open-minded, which is rare, but there are people like that, and some of you are those people, at least not all of you who are listening here. They're open-minded enough that they can just grasp, well, wait a minute, these eyewitnesses here and that other eyewitness there, they seem to be telling the truth, and it doesn't sound like any kind of bird or bat. And then that open-minded person might go a little further or not, but they will start keeping the open mind and think, this could be real. I mean, remember, my associates and I are not declaring to the world that all these pterosaurs that are known from fossils are alive. No, nothing like that. We're just saying that not all of them that lived in the past are extinct. There are a select group of species, for example. This is more my opinion and declaration than all my associates, perhaps, but there is a small group of species, a small number of species who have survived. They're perfectly healthy. They're spread out over long areas, big areas. They're perfectly sound as far as I can tell, and I don't see any sign of any danger of extinction. Let's see, we got a lot of comments here. Yeah. Okay, let me get into this. All right, George Mueller, do you think that the Marfa lights in Texas could be Ropen sightings? Okay, I'm going to delve into this right now because I've done so much research on this. It's in my books and blog posts for years. Yes, absolutely, but we need to be aware in Marfa, Texas. This sounds off subject, but it relates to sightings in the United States, pterodactyl sightings in the USA. What people call Marfa lights, remember this, people can go there one particular night and they'll see something strange at light in the distance off to the right from the Marfa lights viewing platform, and they look out on that side of the highway, and more to the right they'll see something moving and it'll be strange looking. Generally those are car headlights, maybe with a mirage effect or a strange effect from the distance. It happens sometimes. Generally that's what those lights are. Only about 6 times a year is there a real what I call the real Marfa lights, the ones that are really mysterious and just don't make sense in terms of these other interpretations. They're just weird. And in general, you can look at the book by James Bunnell, Hunting Marfa Lights. I have one right up here. It's on my shelf here. Where is it? It's up on my bookshelf right here. But it's Hunting Marfa Lights by James Bunnell, Bunnell. Excellent. I think there's more than one edition. However, he is a scientist different than I do, specializing more in things involved with his experience in jet rocket propulsion and so on. And so he's always looking for a non-living explanation. He's not a biologist, and he doesn't consider that possibility. But these lights do travel as if they were a group of flying predators at night with bioluminescence. They do function like that. They move like that. They act like that, like they're predators hunting something. Maybe different things at different nights. But I have a lot of evidence in that. It's just I look at some of my blog posts, which maybe dozens of them, web pages and blog posts I have about morpholights. Yeah, the really strange ones are some type of bioluminescent flying predator that hunt as a group. Not necessarily Ropens, possibly not even modern pterosaurs, but they probably are because we know so many modern pterosaurs do have bioluminescence. So it seems logical that they would be pterosaurs. So I can stay along here a little bit longer, but we have a lot of things on the chat, so we need to see the details, what's going on. What are these questions and comments? Okay. People having the different discussions with each other. Okay, we have some discussions. Fine. Jessica says, I also believe that there are still living species of dinosaurs that's alive. Yeah, I do too, Jessica. Thank you for being here and giving your comments. Okay, Dino Tortoise says, my wife and I have seen several pterosaurs this year. That's super, Dino. Thank you for telling us that here in this particular live stream. Yeah, I know you mentioned it before, but grateful you mentioned it again here. Because there's some new people here, Dino Tortoise. New people that haven't been with us before, I don't think. Thank you for telling us. Yeah, and Jessica would love to see one. Yeah, me too. I'd love to get a good sighting. Oh, and this is one I think we should look into, West. Do you think the living modern pterodactyls will ever go extinct? Oh, that is scary to think that maybe one of their species might, I suppose. I don't know. We don't have nearly enough information. From what I can tell in general, and this is just a general kind of indications that we have, is that they're not confined necessarily to any particular place as far as we can tell in general, but there may be a species that is. It's possible, and then that could be different. But in general, for example, the American hammerhead ropen, which you see in these two sketches, the same species, I'm sure. This is seen in Cuba in the middle of the 20th century. The American hammerhead ropen, I believe, I have no doubt that it's descended from some kind of ramperincoid pterosaur from the past, even though it looks very different than what people think of ramperincos. Look at the long, bony head crest. That's not something I don't know that any scientist has ever seen in a fossil of a pterosaur yet, but I suspect that might be discovered someday. These are the bigger ones that I think that have the bigger head crests. The younger ones, if I understand correctly from the information we have from the eyewitness sightings in the hundreds over the past 18 years, the younger Ropens are more like ramperincoids, that they don't have that head crest. I think it grows in their lifetime over a period of time, over many years, as a creature matures and so on. This is my opinion, take it or leave it. But yeah, the mature Ropen is strange in that head crest, but it's definitely not a bird. You notice the teeth in the larger one here drawn by Patty Carson. Definitely not. I believe that this species here, the American hammerhead ropen, as I call it, is not in danger of extinction. It's found all in different parts of the world. If something goes wrong in one part of the world, the others in the other part of the world will survive quite well and possibly eventually have individuals that go into the part of the world where they became extinct, however that happened. I'm not even sure if they could be threatened, seeing how widespread they are. How could they be threatened with extinction? Even like I have cases where people have been shooting at them in Central California years ago, and also on the banks of a river that's a tributary to the Columbia River between, well, this particular place I went with two of my associates was at the Yakima River, where we saw the shells, and they said people are shooting their guns off at night trying to shoot these flying creatures. That's crazy, because there are people out there at night trying to do research, and then people coming out with their guns and shooting all over. Crazy. There's not too many people, or if anybody, that's still researching there anymore because of the shootings that are going on. Anyway, even if they were able to shoot all of them at that area, that little river that eventually gets into the Columbia River, even if somebody or person or persons were to keep shooting until they killed all of them off there, there's another river that feeds into the Columbia, and there are apparently the same species that live there. I don't think anybody's or any group of persons are going around with shotguns all over the western United States shooting at these flying lights until they're all gone. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think there's any threat to this particular species, my opinion. So let's see what we have with the chat. A lot of people participating. We appreciate this. Thank you so much for joining us here. We have a fair number of persons that have joined us. Grateful you're here, and some persons that haven't been here before. I suspect those who are participating are mostly those who've been here before in other chats in the past. We've been doing these Friday afternoon live stream chats for a little over half a year now. Let's see, George Mueller, thank you for answering. East Texas has a big swamp where there are strange lights, needs investigating. Oh, definitely, George, yeah. I wish I could go there myself. And Dino tortoise, these weren't long-tailed, about as big as Canadian geese, but one was the size of a small plane. Another little one was pigeon-sized, real fast. Okay, this from Dino tortoise. Thank you for telling the details. They weren't long-tailed, so they weren't Ropens, apparently. If they were Ropens, you probably would have noticed the long tail. So I'm assuming that this is not, what you saw, Dino tortoise, was not a Ropen, but the other kind, the other general kind of pterosaur that is still living in the world. Okay, universalmodel.com. It's interesting. I have a business card from one of these individuals that works there. Universal model, I think, yeah. Oh, I'll promote it right now, I think. What's the harm? This is something I don't know much about yet. I'm going to investigate it more. Universal model, little booklet they have, and they have their, this is before the pandemic that they had these tours. Now, it doesn't show up well here because of the effects they have, but that's one of their brochures. Very nice there. But I am going to look into there and communicate more with them and see how we can work together. I will be getting that. My wife reminds me sometimes, did you get with them? Did you contact them? Well, I'm so busy, but I will. Yeah, it's been a busy week too, but grateful for all those who participated. We had 2 live stream chats this past Friday. So if you're interested in getting into this, learning more, and not necessarily about the fire flying serpent, but about modern pterosaurs, pterodactyl sightings, religion, modern pterosaurs, we should deal with this more in the future, talk about this more, because it is important about the Bible and about Jesus Christ and the importance of having the center of our lives. And people can believe what they will and still offer opinions. Of course, we're open to people from different countries and different religious beliefs to communicate about these flying creatures. Just be aware that those who spent the most time in the United States, at least, on these flying creatures and gone on expeditions, written books about them, are, like myself, Christians believing in the Bible. So glad you were here. Wish we could have more time. We will have other live stream chats in the future. We're glad for those of you who have come back. I've been on here before, and the newcomers, thank you so much for joining us. But for now, yeah, I need to call it a day for this live stream. God bless each of you, and we'll be back together again and discussing these incredible, wonderful flying creatures that God has placed on this earth. And just delighted that we can communicate openly about this, and delighted for your comments and expressing your ideas, and you're telling us about your sightings. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. And I'll see you next time.